Welcome to I'm From the Internet, a podcast about somethingawful.com, the goons, and their consequences. I'm Winslow Domain, and I'm sitting here with internet historian Jaybrandstetter, and we have a special guest who you have not heard before, but you have definitely heard his work. We have our very own Steve Killhamster, the producer, on board for this one. Steve, how are you?
I'm here for better or for worse.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, you just got back. We both just got back from some big, stupid travel, right?
Yeah, I was in Norway for 5 weeks doing an artist residence and then just hiking around and being stuck in the shitty weather.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that sounds like Norway for sure. We had an opportunity to go to Norway, me and my family. We were in Europe at one point, and instead of doing that, we went to Barcelona and saw like the Gaudi and all that. That was cool. I would have, of course, loved to have gone to like go to my black metal heritage.
Yeah,
but,
we went and saw the church that Varg burned down, and there were lots of other metal guys there trying to act like they weren't there for that reason. They're like, "Oh, we're very interested in the history of Norway," and it's like, you liar. You're here to see the church that Varg burned down.
So
yeah, I have very simple feelings about Varg. Fuck that nerd. But I do have complicated feelings that I keep to myself when it comes to, like, you know, the church was erected by colonizers, and, you know, I'm not weeping over it getting burned down, but we can get into that later. Anyways, Jay, you had something to say.
No, I was going to say, as someone who isn't super into that scene, could you give me some context for the person you're talking about? It sounds really interesting.
I can take point on this, because this is kind of my forte. So there was this extremely influential, still is an extremely influential, second wave black metal band called Mayhem. And they were this extremely influential second wave black metal band called Mayhem. And they were famous because you've probably seen bits and pieces of it, because their vocalist was a guy who his name was Per Olin or Olin. I don't know his name. Don't check me on that. His stage name was Dead, and he killed himself he cut his wrist and blew his brains out with a shotgun. And then I believe it was the drummer that found the body, and he just took pictures of it and like circulated it to some of the other bands.
And he kept pieces of the skull too.
Yeah, took pieces of his skull and stuff. And that photo of their vocalist's dead body ended up being the cover of a bootleg Mayhem record called Dawn of the Black Hearts, which is a live album, right? Later on, there was I don't know what they played. I can't remember. This is details that aren't important to the story. Guitarist or bassist, I don't know. Euronymous was his stage name, and Varg Vikernes was the other guy. And they were both like trying to be the most metal that they could possibly be, and it resulted in Varg murdering Euronymous, and he did get caught for it, and he served, I think, like the maximum sentence for it, and he actually released a bunch of records from inside of prison under a new name for his band called Burzum, which is the dark speak part, the Lord of the Rings evil language for darkness. And they're all just like synths because he couldn't get any other stuff in the prison. But he's like a totally fucking loud, out and proud Nazi, and he's been that way for a while now. So, I mean, not only is he a murderer, but he's a fucking Nazi too.
And that's a big problem with black metal anyway, because half of them are. I have to Google a band if I want to try and like it.
Yeah. And side note to that is another thing that they did that a lot of these bands did was they would burn down these historic wooden churches. And for their reasoning, it was because this used to be a land of like Norse pagans, right? And then the Christians came and colonized the whole place and stamped out the local religion and erected the churches on top of the holy sites of Norse paganism. And so they burned them down to like, you know, reconsecrate the site for Odin or whoever, you know. And one of those was it Kirkebrand or whatever it's called? I can't remember what it's.
Stavkirke.
Yeah,
literally just stave church for all the wooden things.
Well, that's the style of church. They're called stave churches. Yeah. But Mayhem continued as a band. They've had a bunch of other different vocalists, and their current vocalist is a guy named Attila Cesar. And honest to God, I mean, I think that Ordo ad Chaos, and which was released in 2011. I shouldn't bring up facts when Google it. Ordo ad Chaos is like an incredible black metal record. And then the one that followed it is called Esoteric Warfare. And it's just like, I know that like all the true cult black metal kids are going to scream into their fucking headsets right now. But I think that those are some of the best black metal records ever made. They aren't necro, you know, they aren't like super fucking grimdark as everything else. They are extremely grimdark, but they're very experimental and weird. And Attila Cesar is like one of the most terrifying vocalists of all time. So that's that. Yeah. I'm glad you had fun in Norway.
Yeah, it was really cool. The non-black metal parts were really nice. We got to hang out with a jazz musician who played bass clarinet, a really humongous thing. Okay. And I got to record him doing some stuff, and I'm remixing it right now. And just got to hang out and do art for 2 weeks before we went out and hiked.
That's great. Yeah. Because we haven't recorded, because I did just do the Oddities and Curiosities Expo in Canada, which was, oh boy, a shitload of work. I went up to Oddities and Curiosities in Canada, and we got to the border, and like, oh my God, look, I don't want to start this podcast with just a shitload of complaining. So I'm going to try to keep this brief. In order to get over the border to sell things in Canada, like there's no one way to do it. There's an unbelievable amount of paperwork that you have to do. You have to have like specific tariff numbers for each individual type of thing that you're bringing. So in my instance, I have, 12 to 15 different types of pins, just pins, and, 20 or 30 different types of stickers. And I would need to do like copious paperwork for all of that. You pay duties on everything up to like what I saw was like 17 to 18% duty. So they just take 17 to 18% of, or, however much it is of all of your product. And they just take that. And on top of that entire cost, the entire cost of the entire value of your car, or all of your inventory, I should say, they just take a 5% sales tax, and then that's never refunded. So like at the gate, wow, they take like thousands. It's nuts. Like if you have a guitar in your car, they're like, you need a work permit to play that at the beach. Like it's wild. And so we go to the border, we have all of our paperwork, and like, I am doing the goddamnedest that I can to have it organized. This is not my strong suit, paperwork. But I have, we checked our stuff over, and the guy at the border is like, yeah, sorry, you needed to have a work permit, and you probably should have done that 6 months ago. So you're going to go back to America. And which means that we have to go through American security, and it's like security under suspect, because they're like, why didn't this guy get into Canada? That was what he was trying to do. Did he do something wrong? So we go back through, they search the entire car, which for the record, one of the things that I sell is a black bag labeled drugs. So they somehow don't find that, right? Yeah. And they also didn't find like the bags and bags and bags of stickers and pins that I just keistered throughout the car, because I was like, I don't know if they're going to have me sit down and count out every single thing. I doubt it, but I'm just going to have to stuff things places and just be like, look, man, it's a messy car. I don't know. So we just go out through the border and we're back in America and we're like, fuck. Well, we tell the group chat, yeah, they turned us away. They said that we needed a work permit, and the group chat's like, no, you don't. Like, the group chat starts freaking out because everybody's going there today, and they're like, nobody had said anything about work permits, ever. Like, it doesn't say anything on the website. If the only time it says anything about a work permit on the website is it says, like, if you're going there for a trade show, you don't need a work permit because you're exempt from this because of X and Y reason. And so we get a bunch of screenshots together and we go back through the border and we get, luckily, a different guy. And he starts looking over and he's like, look, guys, I want to work with you, but like the rules are really complicated. I need to look through things and like figure it out. There's another group there that they have a table at the Oddities show. And so like we're 4 people there, you know, like she's got like fucking crazy multicolored dreadlocks and I'm with Alex and she's covered in tattoos. And I wore my most appropriate shirt, you know, like I had to be, you know, I'm not going to be wearing anything that's going to get any eyes on me. Right. And we managed to get through, based on a few things that I'm not going to talk about on the podcast. But we get through, and because of the circumstances of us getting through, they were just like, yeah, just come through. Whatever.
So you bribed them with the cum bottle, right?
Yeah, with the cum bottle, basically. But they didn't look at my inventory sheet, so like I was like, we were just scot-free. It was crazy. I have no idea how that happened, but yeah, we just went through and then spent, you know, a few days in Canada, and I don't know. I did not expect Toronto to be as enormous as it is, but like we're downtown. We set up for the show, and we're like, okay, I don't want to eat anything downtown because that's going to be a parking nightmare and it's going to cost twice as much. So let's just say I'm going to drive for 5 miles towards the hotel and we'll find some food out there. And it's just like, it's a city. It's like metastasized city as far as it could go. But yeah, long story short, it was like the show was fine. You know, Canadian money is weird, whatever. I didn't make that much money, but it was a good experience, and I still, you know, came out definitely in the black, but it wasn't like a blowout show. And then we got through, and there's like Alex is very, very anxious about getting through the border, and, you know, American security is really, really intense to get through, and, you know, who likes talking to cops? And then we get to the American border, and the guy's just like, did y'all go camping? And I was like, no, we showed our art at an art show, and now we're just coming back to America. And he's like, do you have any money in the car? I'm like, got like a couple $100. And he's like, all right, cool. And just let us through. And that was it. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it was like,
that's been my experience at like TSA checkpoints. Either you get the guy that does not care, or you get the most like weird, hard ass, just little power tripping guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, there's people that got turned away, or not turned away, but like they got extra scrutiny on the trip out there. There was somebody who got detained, and it was because they were with their Colombian husband, who has like, you know, regular ass guy tattoos, but he's Colombian.
Scary.
You know, there's one guy who got not on this trip, but he's like, yeah, I went there and they saw that I had like a little, you know, metalhead spiky bracelet, and they're like, yeah, you can't have that, and they searched his entire car because of that. You know, like, there's one person got like detained because they had their hat on backwards, and they were like, oh, is this a gang sign? You know? But the thing is that we tried to do every single thing that we could possibly do. We called the border multiple times, be like, what documents do I need? How do you want them organized? Do I need to get this notarized? Like, Alex had a notarized certificate for every original art piece that she was bringing up, because you need to have a certificate of origin for things that were made in free trade agreement countries. So I needed to have origin certificates for all of the stuff that I have that's made in the United States, right? And Alex's stuff is done by her by hand, some of it, right? And she was just like, I need to get like document and have it notified that I did it myself, but how? So she does all of this stuff and they don't look at any of it.
This sounds like way too much time and effort for anyone for anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there were other people in this show that they got to the border and they searched them top to fucking bottom. And then they had to fill out, because you fill out all those forms in advance. We will get to the podcast at some point. This is just a serious thing that I have not talked to like anybody about, right? But the B33 forms, you fill out everything in advance and you have all of your documentation in hard copy. And you get to the border and they're like, great, that's cool. You need to fill all of that out again on our computer that's from Windows 95. And it's not even a Windows computer. It's like a separate system that you have to like, it's like a series of menus for every single item you have. There's one person that went there and they not only had their entire shit checked top to bottom, they took all of their paperwork. They paid over $1,000 in taxes and over like, an additional $1,000 in duties. And then they spent 6 hours putting in all of the paperwork into the computer before they're allowed over the border.
The insult of having to pay all these taxes and then being forced to use some sort of fucked up Linux is...
Oh, yeah, dude. The number of billion-dollar companies that I've worked for that I've been like entering the data on like a DOS box, like legit green text on black is fucking wild, dude. Walgreens, Omaha Steaks, they're even some of the back end at Office Max back a million years ago when I worked there was all like had not been updated. Since,
I know what you're talking about. This is fucking IBM shit. It goes back to some mainframe in an empty building somewhere.
Anyways, Jay?
I will say I can empathize with your travel difficulties because that is a thing that furries go through a lot is because like trying to go over borders and fly and stuff with like thousands of dollars worth of like a fursuit and also like have it be secure. Like people getting just like having something that is like a box you can lock it in that TSA can get, like people get detained for it. And also like, as you can imagine, TSA people can be real jerks about the fact that someone's like bringing an animal costume over borders and stuff. So yeah, just I've heard so many horror stories about that.
And I've gotten hassled too for websites I used to work on. So, they put us on a list for a while.
Oh yeah. Oh, side note to all of this. When I was first at the border and we were like, I was trying to be as fucking friendly as possible, not make any jokes in like the most joke-filled part of the world, security is so silly that you can't like, I just had to keep my fucking mouth shut and I'm trying to just be friendly as fuck so that these cops don't know how left I am. Right. And I overhear, I swear to God, this is true. I overhear 2 of the border cops talking about doomed polar voyages. And that's something I've read about before. And I lean over to the other desk and I look this cop in the eye and I said, I love the terror. And he looks at me and he goes, what? And I'm like, the book about the polar explorer, the HMS Terror and the HMS Erebus. And he's like, oh, the Terror, the ship. And I was like, yeah, the ship
just
called the Terror.
A terrorist right at the border for them.
Yeah, right through the gate, which is like, man, like threading the needle of stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like it's like the Civil War bullets that fused in the air. The cop had to be talking about doomed polar voyages right when my dumbass was in earshot, and it was like, perfect. But yeah, that was fine.
Oh, anyways, it always feels good when you can walk back from one of those, like explain the context, and they get it.
And they're like, oh yeah. Familiar with the terror?
I am the god of
I guess speaking of feeling good, yeah, we've done a couple. We've done pretty dark material for these past couple episodes, and we've got some dark ones coming up. So I wanted to do something light in between those as a sort of a breath mint. So I've got a sort of a double feature here of comparatively wholesome and relatively benevolent stories based around bees. We're talking about bees today. So it's
beads.
No, bees.
Awesome.
Winslow's on board.
All right. Well, I'm strapped in for some bees. Let's get some bees. I will say one thing that I know about bees is that we did all of this work to save the bees, but we saved like the honeybees, which are not native to North America. And so it's actually crowding out and killing all of our native bees. And so like all of the beekeeper people that I know are just like, it's like they've hit like some sort of cognito hazard now that they know the true facts about like all of the Save the Bee movement has been just like fueling this endemic spread of like the wrong kind of bee, apparently.
Oh, man, no, I definitely empathize with that. Yeah, no, it's I grew up in Florida, so like when I was growing up, everyone was terrified of bees. There was always people talking about how like killer bees were taking over Florida. It was like by the time I was in high school, it was just gonna be nothing but killer bees and kudzu as far as like the eye could see, and I mean that never came around. But just it was something that was kind of drilled into me. And then to have people turn around and be like, no, actually bees are very nice. We need them, and most of them aren't harmful. Was nice. And
yeah, I was the same way. Like there's fucking movies on TV about killer bees that just drove it into your head that they are coming for you and they will murder you and your family and everybody around you.
Well, they called them Africanized bees, which is like, man, if we were writing a book about like racialized science, calling them Africanized, like it's like the Spanish flu is actually the French flu is actually the German flu and all the way down. It's just like, who are the people that we hate the most? And we just name our problems after that. Has nothing to do with the China virus.
Also, in continuing with the theme of like my entire life being a series of like Slumdog Millionaire-esque coincidences that help the episodes, I did used to be friends with a beekeeper. When I lived in Jacksonville, I was friends with this homesteader who was like one of those cool cornerstone of the community types. And one of his things was that he was a backyard beekeeper. And once I dog sat for him, when he was paying me, he gave me just like slabs of honeycombs in addition to the money. It was like completing a quest in Skyrim. It was super cool just to be like, here, have some crafting ingredients along with the money in return for this quest you've done for me. It was very cool, like just really. But so I know a little bit about bees from him.
That tracks with your whole like bear thing. I mean, like I don't think pandas don't eat honey, but poo does.
Well, that's the thing is pandas don't natively eat honey, but in captivity it is one of the things that they feed them. A lot of what they feed them is like fruit juice popsicles with honey, or like just fruit. Like a lot of they give them a lot of stuff like that. There's a lot of really...
They give pandas popsicles?
Seriously, there's a lot of really cute videos of them eating giant popsicles. Like on their birthdays, they make them cakes out of like shaved ice and frozen fruits. And there's all these cute pictures of pandas next to like piles of frozen fruit with like a giant 10 next to it or whatever. Just, no, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a feel-good story.
Yeah, it's a moment of zen today.
We're already off to a great start.
But yeah, no, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, no, that's the reason I like bees too. They're kind of associated with bears. Although a fun thing about that is that bears don't actually really eat honey. They're more into the bee larvae that live there. The honey is just kind of what they're in. So that's just an interesting wrinkle to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nature.
I wonder if they can even taste it. We're like 20 fucking minutes into this pod. Tell me more about the bees, Jay.
Yeah. All right, let's do the bees then. So, and also just one more thing as a PSA before we get into this. If you ever have a swarm of bees come onto your property, if you call a local beekeeper, they will come get them for you for free because it's probably a swarm around a queen and queens are valuable. So they're doing you both a favor by doing that. So I just want to get that in the way because we're talking about a swarm of bees in our lead story today. It's a GBS thread from December 23rd, 2006, and it's one of the classic Something Awful misadventures that blew up online and got circulated all over the place. I think I saw this on Albino Black. Yeah, I think I saw this on Albino Black Sheep before I knew what Something Awful was. Just these pictures with the commentary posted on it. It's this GBS thread here. If you want to, Winslow, would you like to read the title?
Oh dear Lord, bees.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
I remember watching this one when it happened too.
Yeah, this is basically just one big blog post of someone describing a thing they did. So I'm going to go through the OP and fill in the details as we go along. The OP is a poster named Flannel Blob, and they say here, I am visiting my family in Florida for the holidays. I was chilling at my sister's house when we looked out back and noticed a swarm of honeybees congregating on their swing set. There are a lot of kids around, including my sister's 3 kids. They were inside at the time, fortunately. And yeah, this being in Florida also made this very fuzzy research, because this is just like my backyard basically growing up. Yeah. Fucking bees. And
okay, so what we're looking at here in the background is just like a boring tan house with just a shingled roof and whatever. But the foreground up front, kind of cropped, is the crossbar that holds up a set of playground swings, the chains hanging down with the plastic polymer casing around it. And then attached to that bar is a clump of bees, and there's like a swarm of bees scattered around it. Like a good number of bees are servicing this rogue clump.
I just love that description of them being a clump.
Yes, they're just kind of clotted together.
Yeah, like they aren't covering the swing set. There's so many just bulging outwards. Like they are forming its own distinct mass that is attached to the swing set. It is very unsettling looking. And it also looks fantastic. Like you could see the individual bees in flight around it, because the person who made this thread had a really good digital camera and they knew how to use it. So all these pictures look like they could have been taken now. Like this. If you compare this to Sega Killer, where it was like on someone's flip phone, this is night and day.
Yeah, that's one thing I remember from this, is seeing the pictures and thinking that it happened recently and being a little like confused at how long ago it was, because it does look. They're great pictures.
Yeah, I think in the thread he even goes on about like the shutter speeds and stuff he was using.
Oh, the guy was a camera nerd.
He knew what he was doing.
Tracks.
Yeah, because this was in 2006, so for someone to have like a good DSLR, like digital camera, and know how to just use it and everything, you had to be pretty invested in that at the time. So, yeah, here we go. So we have another one here, it's just sort of closer up, where it's just to see just this big swarm. Like, have you ever seen a picture of a guy who has a beard of bees? This is like the swing set has a beard of bees.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just like it's like the surface is completely bees. It's all bees all the way down. It is exactly as you imagine it. It looks like something you don't want to touch.
Yeah, and I included all the pictures. We don't have to describe all of them going forward. Just like if there's like an interesting one, I'll stop on the good ones. But just speaking.
Yeah, I got you.
So continuing. A few minutes later, they had calmed down. We were guessing they were disturbed from their hive and decided to come here or something. This is where the bees were coming from, a hole in the house behind my sister's place. We told the landlady about it, and she didn't seem to care or want to be bothered that she was renting a house to people that had fucking bees living inside of it.
Yeah, seeing this whole... We've watched a lot of TikToks of, like, bee removal services. Despite me being terrified of bees and yellow jackets and hornets and shit like that, it's fascinating what they do. Like, with regular honeybees, they just find the queen and put her in a box, and they will all just follow. And it's nuts. They build a little bridge out of cardboard, and they'll just march across and go into this box with the queen, and after a while, all they got to do is pick up kind of strays.
Yeah, I do like how COVID and TikTok and, like, the algorithmization of our lives has resulted in people saying things like, yeah, I've been watching a lot of bee removal videos, which is like something that you would have to have like weapons grade autism to get into, 5 years ago. But now you're just like, yeah, as you do. Because I watched a bunch of videos of guys like completely taking apart, cleaning and reassembling and like repainting old like German meat grinders and stuff like that, and I'm just like,
oh man, that shit is satisfying though.
Oh yeah, when you see the guy with the sandblasting machine, like the self-contained one with the abrasive black dust that's like blasts the paint off of stuff, or when they do a fucking powder coat, dude, and you just watch the things go into the oven, and it's just like, and it just it turns into like the most perfect coating of paint you've ever seen. Hell yeah. I'm not going to watch sports. I'll watch a man clean a meat grinder.
Yeah, we got into watching people build brick walls once. It's great to watch a guy that's really good at his job do it calmly and quietly and just I don't know.
Yeah, as a guy whose job is like, I make silly bumper stickers for a living, you know, and I tell jokes. It's like, I could die and the whole world wouldn't notice at all. Like, I'm nothing. But a skill like building a wall or removing bees, I'm just going to say that they're going to get more food at the commune, you know? So, glad that that's probably why we watch it, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I get that. Yeah, I guess my version of that is I'm really into this thing called Scanimate. It was like a 70s and 80s analog computer animation system. And it's like, if you ever see like an old movie, they have like that chrome and neon style lettering that's just like floating in the air. That's Scanimate. I just love to pull up like an 80s CGI demo reel. Yeah, but to be like a total self-parody, if you ever watch the Animal Olympics on the HBO made, they use that a lot. Or like a lot of like 80s music videos would use that a lot. Or like sports announcements for broadcast. It's a very specific aesthetic that just gives me those pleasure tingles like that. I really love hearing people's like version of that with online content. It's so cute.
Because there was a certain computer that could do that was like exclusive, that like only one guy knows how to work it. But it like when you think of like the neon 80s with like the fake, the grid on the bottom to make it look like you're advancing towards the city, like, you know, the like the
like synthwave stuff.
Synthwave stuff. Like there was a computer that mapped and generated that like basically only one dude knows how to honestly run that machine anymore, because why would you need it? We have everything else. But it was fascinating to see how it worked, to see like like a physical machine to generate like a neon text generator, but they required a full physical machine, you know? Anyways, bees.
Yeah, just returning to the ominous hole, like something you'd reach into in Silent Hill to get an item, like just cursed vibes. Yeah.
The neighbor called a bee removal company, and they said they wouldn't come out unless we paid a hefty fee. But he did recommend waiting until dark and go buy some stuff from Home Depot and squirt them with it, and that should kill them off. Well, that plan was okay, except for two things. One was that my sister's husband is crazy. The second is that we didn't want to wait that long nor spend any money. So we did the next best thing. Started fucking with the bees.
Also, remember, this is December 23rd, so the day before Christmas Eve. The family's over, and they're just like, hey, there's a swarm of bees out back. Y'all want to have some fun? Welcome to Florida. Woo woo.
Man, I'm from Nebraska. We pulled some wild shit around that same time frame.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty universal, yeah. No, dudes do indeed rock, no matter what state they reside in.
I just love that it was just a matter of just like, I don't really want to wait. I might as well go do this now with a blowtorch and some Roman candles. When I was a kid, my brother we were setting off bottle rockets, and not only did one of them go completely haywire and actually go into my hair and get caught and then pop on my head, but we watched one of them just zip all over the yard and stick itself right into a beehive. And I look at my brother and he looks at me and we run inside because we just pissed off like 500 bees.
I had a buddy that lived out in the woods, and he had an old car, I don't know, like a Nova or something, some ancient ass 70s car. And in the wheel well was a giant hornet's nest. And the dumbest, most like dangerous thing we ever did was hop into that car, start it up, and drive it down the road doing like 60 or 70.
I have a reasonable fear of bees because I remember I was like fucking 3 and I overturned a tin can down by the scrapyard. I was walking with my dad, and I just remember seeing into it and just seeing all the black little holes and the black little eyes staring back at me, and like suddenly I'm completely swarmed with bees, and I just remember screams after that.
Oh, what a nightmare.
Oh, jeez. So, I got stung like once and did like found a whole nest. Jeez.
Oh yeah, I was totally fucked up.
Oh god, see, I never got to have anything cool like that because, like, thanks to my like Rod and Todd Flanders ass upbringing, I wasn't allowed to play with fireworks. So what I would do is I would ask for like a thing of cans of soda, and I would just shake them up really hard and throw them up in the air and let them like splatter on the pavement and explode. That was my fireworks. Like,
I mean, I've been there too.
So the upside of that is that my dad worked in pest control. So there was a lot of times when, like, whenever there was a swarm of bees, he had this thing called wasp spray. It was a can that looked like something they would sell it in Repo Man. It was just like white with text on it. It was like industrial, like, bee killer.
Yeah,
they would spray like 30 feet. And he would even let me do the spraying. It was so cool. Like, it was called wasp freeze, because when you sprayed on there, they just freeze and fall off. And then afterwards, I got to have the little wooden paper nest. It was like, because I was a science nerd. So that was one of my few fond memories.
My dad had that same trick, except it was just paint thinner. He'd walk up to a thing, toss a cup of paint thinner on it, because he was a painter, and, they would just freeze up and we'd get rid of them.
Yeah. I mean, my dad did some jank shit too. My dad was Polish as fuck, so yeah.
Well, that's very good accidental foreshadowing there with the paint thinner, yeah. Continuing.
My bro-in-law chucks a tennis ball at the clump of bees that was the size of a basketball. He knocked off a fist-sized clump of bees, which eventually just flew back up into the main clump. That was pretty boring, so we decided to try something a little bigger.
Here we go.
This is the one that always got
What does he have there?
That's a tow hitch. That's what you, like, bolt onto your car so you can tow stuff from the back.
Oh. Okay. Oh, man. All right. So, hang on. Because what's so funny about this is that, like, when you're watching, like, a sci-fi movie and you're seeing the intrepid astronauts and scientists come to grips with the shape-shifting monster, like, when you're fighting, like, a blob or a Shoggoth or something like that, where, like, you shoot it full of holes, like Terminator, right? And the bullets just, like, go through it. And you just see people have to recalculate what they're going to do. And the conclusion in sci-fi is also the conclusion here. But we've not made it there yet. What we've come to is the part of the thing where he's like, all right, well, a bullet won't do it, but what if I use a sledgehammer? Which is essentially a large bullet on a stick. It's the joy of this man in jean shorts and dad shoes heaving a large iron tow hitch over to the bees. I mean,
this already battered.
It's pictures taken before disaster,
Yeah, he's so happy. Like the energy that this gives me is he gives me very strong, like, Dougie Jones from Twin Peaks: The Return energy. Like, he has he just looks like he's so happy. He's just about to do something, and he does not care what is going to happen afterwards. He's just going to do it.
So he throws the tow hitch. It's in the air. It is, clearly above.
Yeah, just hanging a good 2 or 3 feet up there.
You could put the golden ratio over this thing, and it would be perfect. Just the way it is framed over the man with the beehive in the center.
One of my favorite parts about this picture that we're looking at here is that the tow hitch is in the air, the clump is right there. You see the swing set, but the joy of the man is completely eclipsed because his face is perfectly in line with the rusted iron bar of the swing set itself. So you can only imagine that he is just about to realize what he's doing. Maybe the smile has faded just a touch.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And just the subtitles just incoming in all caps.
Yes.
The moment of impact.
Oh, God. So, okay. The tow hitch has hit, and, like, there's probably a beautiful scientific mathematical way of saying it, but you can see that the tow hitch has conveyed its energy to the swing set and has caused the chains on the swing set to wobble a little bit, but a clump of the bees has fallen off whole. So there's just a few, like, bits of bee detritus between them. But this, like, whole writhing mass of bees has been, like, dislodged, right?
It's still solid.
And you see the man running away.
He is caught in mid-stride.
Very much, he looks kind of like a still photo of the Bigfoot video.
The exact
Do you know what I mean? This is A tremendous image.
And
Historic,
in every
honestly.
snapshot, you were seeing kind of the dawning realization of him being like, "Oh fuck, what?"
What did he think was going to fucking happen? That the bees were just going to be like, ouch.
Yeah, the look on his face
and then
in
just
this
walk.
It's going to be like, well, you got us.
And his face in this one is very much the, oh no.
Yeah, this is the I've made a terrible mistake moment.
My God, what have I done?
Yeah, this is the record scratch freeze frame. You're probably wondering how I got here moment.
Yes, because now you don't see the clump, but you do see some of the bees in the air, and the man's joy has turned into fear, and he is now turning his back to the clump. And one thing I know from my years of living in Nebraska, you never turn your back on a clump.
Damn right.
Okay, now just like it looks like a pool of cat vomit on the grass, but it's just a pile of bees.
Yeah, just a freestanding pile of bees. You don't see that very often.
Maybe you don't.
True.
So there's still some bee clump left on the pipe.
Yeah. And I will say here from that, because I think what's happening is, like you were mentioning about them swarming around a queen. I think that what happened is a queen has taken refuge inside the swing set there, and this is all the bees swarming around her. So that's why they just keep going back up to there, because she's in there, and they just want to be around her. That's also why they're not going berserk on these people. They're just in swarm mode. So I am not a beekeeper. I just knew one once. So that's just my inexpert opinion there. But,
yeah, if I understand correctly, they're like less aggressive when they're in this swarming mode. They're just doing their thing at this point.
Yeah, they're more focused on like getting back to where their people are.
Yeah, it's like a colony will have a new queen will happen in there, and then it will eventually take a clump of the swarm and go off to form their own colony. And this is that they're looking for their new one. So they probably would eventually build a hive here over time. So it would be something that would have to be taken care of. But for now, they're just swarming.
Yeah, because it isn't a hive.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a clump. But over time they would find a way. Which I mean, that's how you get those like incredible photos of you leave a doll outside for a summer, and then like beehive paper will like warp around it and make like these nightmare like melts the doll into the wall kind of thing. Fascinating stuff.
Those things are beautiful. Shout out to NBC's Hannibal. One of my favorite kills on there was it's like an evil beekeeper who kills people and then uses their bodies as like honeycombs and then feeds her that honey to people before she kills them. It's very funny.
You're both just describing nightmares for me.
And she's played by the lady who was Honey Bunny in the intro of Pulp Fiction. So it's just that little lady with the red hair just being like, I filled it full of bees. It's so good.
God.
Yeah.
What a way to go.
Yeah, speaking of nightmares.
The bees dust themselves off and resume taking over the swing set. Every single one pretty much flew back up into a ball of bee death. At this point, it was clear that these little assholes weren't getting the message. Their arrival in my sister's property was an act of aggression, and we weren't going to stand for it. So it was time for some redneck engineering.
We have their bee incinerator contraption.
Yeah, so it's an outdoor grill on top of
It's like cardboard?
Oh, this is
yes,
brilliant.
This is so good.
It's not on top of just a piece of scrap cardboard. It's on top of a trifold science fair project board, and then he's attached a rope to it, and it's clear that he's just going to like turn this into like a brazier. I don't know how you call it, and just like set that alight and hope that he can cook the bees out.
Yeah, he's using the science fair project like a sled to pull this big heavy metal cauldron over grass in like the suburbs. It's just
clearly in the picture it says procedure.
Yeah, I was gonna say
procedure.
If you've ever had to like label a board hypothesis, conclusion, you know exactly the type of board we're talking about here.
That's
and
awesome.
There's a razor scooter off to the side just to complete the mid 2000s like nostalgia bomb of this picture here. Yeah, and the description says
bee incinerator contraption. 30 feet of rope, one large fire pit, one science project board, miscellaneous rags, and a bed sheet. Gas.
So, honey, you know that sheet we don't need anymore? Go get it.
And yeah, now he's got a yellow gas tank, and he's pouring gas onto the collection within. Oh boy, this is not good. This makes me think of the science fair project that I did. And it was so fucking crazy and dumb and bad. I wish I could go back and redo high school and just knock it out of the park. But what I did was I got like 100 different people to look at 100 different photos and gauge them on whether or not you trust the people in the photo. And the only difference was whether or not they had facial hair. And so, like, my thing was, like, are you inclined to trust people with facial hair? And I made a big fake, like, Fu Manchu mustache that I cut it out of brown paper and fit it to the board, right? And then my buddy worked at a barbershop, and he got me a bag of hair. And so I just covered the thing in glue, and then I just coated the whole thing in human hair. And because it was a battery of face photos, the title of my project was called Face Battery. And when I got first place in my category, the girl that got second place for her nice, neat, clean project cried. Because I was this freak with, like, human hair dripping off of his science fair board.
Winslow, you made your science teacher so happy with that. Like, that is such a good...
Oh, man. Roll Tide. That was a good time.
That's fantastic. Yeah. There we go.
Fill her up. Slide the incinerator under the bees and... ignition!
Oh, boy. You see him...
He's running again.
Kind of hot stepping away. He's not going too crazy, but definitely a, like, fireball is erupting out of this...
I can hear this picture.
Oh, yeah. This whole thing going up, and it's reaching up towards the bees. And it's just like, oh, man. I'm glad that Alex isn't here to see this, because she would be so fucking sad.
I will say here...
Because it's just like this senseless bee violence.
This is a partial double feature. We're going to have some good bee stuff at the end of this, so if you get bummed out at the bee death, don't worry. We're going to try and make up for that at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because, bees didn't... They didn't do anything
these
wrong. These bees didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be some of the end as people do reply to it about that. But sorry, I do want to say we've made it this far before point out that this is the day before Christmas Eve and this guy is wearing shorts because it's Florida.
Yeah, dude. He's also wearing shorts because he's the kind of man who does everything in shorts, you know?
That's true. I can relate, yeah. And just this beautiful fireball, and then the flames are licking. Like there's a swing set, and the flames are reaching all the way up to the bar at the top where the beehive is. To give you an idea of how tall these flames are.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're like flying around or falling at that point. There's just drops of bees coming from it.
Yeah, they're just like dropping down from it, like raining down into the fire pit. And here's another picture where we see even more where like clumps are breaking off of it.
Yeah. This is total bee devastation happening right now.
Yeah, as the OP says here, oh, the bee-manity.
You didn't have to do this, my man.
Yeah, and we have a close-up here of just some dead bees, like, sprawled out, like you spilled a bunch of peanut shells out on the floor, just all over the board here, showing the carnage.
Yeah, this looks like somebody spilled their lentils.
And it says here, amazingly, some bees still survived the first wave. What should we do next? And like I said, this is why I think the queen was in there, because you can see they're still clinging to that bar there. And I'm assuming that since there's nothing to fall out of, that didn't knock her out of it.
I mean, that fire, if that fire's allowed to be there for long enough, it's going to cook them.
That is true eventually,
and anyways, right?
Yeah. But so they survived the first wave, so what should we do next?
What
an amazing photo.
Fuck. An amazing photo. Okay, so in this photo, you can see the action shot of a can of paint thinner being thrown into the fire. Oh boy, that lawn is toast. I have one of my favorite photographs that I've ever taken, which is I made kind of a similar kind of explosive situation, and but it was inside of an old baby buggy carriage, like with the leather pull up, the accordion style thing, and it's all made of metal. I got one for like $15 because it was a piece of shit from Joe's Collectibles in Omaha, Nebraska. We got it down into the sewers and filled it full of like hairspray and gasoline and shit. And I have a photo of right when the fucking fireball is ripping out of it. And you can just see like the silhouette of a clear baby carriage with just a gout of flame shooting out of it. It's one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. But
it's so fucking good.
So I'm familiar with this pursuit.
Yeah, that's great. And also, like, there's the lid is off of the paint thinner bucket, so there's like a spray of gray mist in its wake as it flies on.
This is used paint thinner. It's not clean and fresh.
Yeah, this is rough.
Yeah, you're real. And also the swing set you mentioned, it's metal with metal chains, and then the swings are like pieces of rubber suspended on chains. So this is stuff that could melt, and also the chains are wrapped in rubber. So yeah, and also Lindsay, you gotta send us that picture after this. It sounds really cool. But here we go.
Yes, I will find
Speaking
that right
of cool
now.
photos,
it is.
Oh boy,
out.
yeah, yeah, just liquid flames just surging out from it, and like they're really bright, high energy flames, and you can kind of see that they're heavy because they're like spilling everywhere, burning as they go.
Yeah, like a waterfall of flames pouring out of this cauldron onto the science fair board.
Also, like, melts the fuck out of the swing set. The swing set you can already kind of see is starting to get melted a little bit. And probably will just, like, burn away in the conflagration. This is just, like, such a stupid idea. It's such just, like, an impressively stupid idea.
It's so good, yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, it says. And then here we go. Another picture of just 1223. Never forget of this giant out of control fire is spilled outside of the cauldron and is now just burning the entire board, which is off.
Yeah, it's probably burning the lawn. There's thick black smoke coming out of it.
Oh, yeah. It smells like terrible, dude.
Oh, yeah. The smoke was very...
There was still more bees on the swing set. Call in the reinforcements. 2 quarts of 87 octane gasoline reporting for duty, sir. Okay, here's the fucking thing. I have a really nice landlord. I actually really like my landlord. We help each other out a lot. We're both on the same wavelength. We're like both junk fiends. We're both finding like cool stuff all the time. Love this guy, right? I feel like if I were to have a fire in a fire pit outside at night, I would need to run it by him first, right?
Right.
I would need to ask permission, like, hey, is this cool? I don't know if this is going to be a problem. These people also have a landlord, and they're like, not just starting a fun fire to roast some weenies, they're like creating dangerous conflagrations of chemical fire.
Yeah, like the neighbors are going to notice.
Yes, the neighbors are going to smell it before they even fucking see it.
Yeah,
this is another great photo of action too. Just this plastic bucket flying across the screen.
Yeah.
It looks like
I've made bombs with we just filled a milk jug with gasoline at the gas station and just threw it into a fire, and it was great. But we were also in this football field of cement, you know. So it's not like it's right next to a house in the same photo.
Yeah, I've got a buddy that lit his entire lawn on fire once trying to make napalm. And
did he see Fight Club? Was it a Fight Club?
Did he read the Anarchist Cookbook?
Yeah, this was Anarchist Cookbook shit. And, we were in high school. This was in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and he got super grounded for that. I don't think we saw him for 2 months.
Young man, you are grounded for trying to create military grades.
You've destroyed your lawn and part of the house. You are in
no more
so
war
much
crimes
trouble,
until
buddy.
bedtime, mister.
Yeah.
Well, when I did community service, one of the kids on the same bus as me was there because he made a Molotov cocktail and burnt down a bunch of bales of hay on his uncle's farm, which is what more can you say?
So a really cool guy.
That's perfect.
Yeah, no, it sounds sick.
Yeah.
Dudes rock.
Yeah, no, my Flanders-esque version of that was I would take the empty soda bottles that people left around at school and I'd fill them with water and put them under the wheels of the school bus. So when they drove away, they would just explode in a fountain of water. And I was just yay. Just.
I mean, joy is where you find it, you know?
It is, yeah. I didn't lose any fingers that way. So I guess I came out ahead in the end compared to some of my peers.
That tracks.
Oh, dear Lord, it's so beautiful. I am so proud to be an American right now.
That fire is
this
so
is
bright.
An enormous pool of flame. Bright, high-energy fire just rushing out of it. And you can still see the bucket in midair.
Yeah, just the ghost of a bucket.
Yeah,
just like an enormous amount of fire.
If you've ever seen Terminator 2, you know exactly what the fireball tearing through this playset looks like. It is exactly that.
Right. I am currently trying to find the photo of the exploding baby carriage. Give me a hot moment.
No problem.
But yeah, ignore me.
Yeah, just
no, it's like a mushroom cloud.
Next photo.
Yes, a
is
literal
like a
mushroom
cloud. Just surging up to the top, black smoke reaching out.
Yeah, just the subtitle says
God.
tonight
the
we are
grass is
having
on
roast
fire in
beef.
front of it.
Yeah, this is rough.
Yeah, the entire board is covered in fire. There are bits of grass around it that are actively burning, and you can see scorched bits around it from the earlier fire too.
God, that's so much.
Also, on the subject of the mushroom cloud, I guess this is a good point to mention that the goons they refer to this as Hiroshima because of the.
Yeah, that tracks. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so because of the mushroom cloud.
Can't take that away from them.
Oh yeah, very good. Yeah. So there we go. The picture of the aftermath just burned out.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised that much of the science fair board lived, and that much of the lawn.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, you could see the molten swing set.
Yeah,
there.
The swing is gone. It's just clumps of black plastic.
Yeah, like I can tell some of the grass isn't going to grow back, but it isn't like a scorching crater like it was going to be. It's pretty impressive. Explosions are cool, man. Yeah. There's the science behind them, but yeah.
The aftermath. Number of Allied casualties, or stings, 0. Number of bees killed, estimated 10,000. Number of bee survivors, about 25 or so. When I close my eyes, I see fire and bees.
And just here, these are some more detailed shots because I had to. These are sort of cropped down and to fit on the document. But this camera they have is really good. Like they could get some super good details.
That's a really
this
good
was with
camera.
post processing.
Did you ever find out what camera they're using?
That's actually what I have right here for the photography nerds out there. They used a Canon Digital Rebel XT with a 28-135 IS lens. Also, this makes me really good.
So that's not crazy.
Yeah, like this is like.
But that lens is cool. Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
all right, so now we're into
the end of the OP there. That's the story is unfolded there. Just I love it so much because just this classic something awful. A guy does the craziest thing possible and shares it with everyone with great enthusiasm. Just so good.
Yeah, and the first response that we have here is 101 votes. An average of 5 out of 5 average. I think that sums up how awesome this thread is.
Yeah, everyone loved this. This blew up. Like this made the front page of Dig the day it came out. Like this was something that really
tracks.
spread across the internet. And there's a funny thing about that at the end. But yeah, that's why I included it there. Like immediately, a lot of people were voting good for this. But then also almost immediately people kind of start people talk about this as if it's a new thing on something awful. It's always kind of been like this. Immediately, people start kind of showing up to, in this case, poster a big cup of cum shows up and goes, "Don't mind me, just shitting on this thread." And they include a link about bee decline in 2006, which is this is the opening of a zombie movie where they're just like, "Hey, you see this thing on the news?" I love those time capsules.
That's a little on the nose. Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, and
I think go ahead.
I just included that there. There's the thing I have with the Dig button, which I already mentioned. But I mean, about it making the front page of Dig. Sorry, let me take that again. So there's a thing here about making the front page of Dig, which I already mentioned. But I'm never going to talk about this otherwise. For a couple of years, Something Awful had a Dig button at the bottom of every thread. There was a little button that said "Dig this," and you click it, and it would submit the thread to Dig. And this was right around the time that they added that. So
do we need to explain what Dig was?
We do. It's
Dig was Reddit before Reddit.
Yeah.
I didn't use Dig all. Yeah, that's partially why the Dig button was so funny. It wasn't even the big social network. Like Reddit. It was it was funny. Yeah, but what was it exactly? It was like Reddit basically.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know because I know enough about the culture of 4chan and. All of its various, went back when 4chan was anonymous and it was we do not forgive, we do not forget, and they were internet tough guys. and now they're just a whole bunch of like Nazis and incels. But they weren't always that. It used to be like less insane and toxic. And I know enough about Reddit and like all of, the Reddit atheism age and all that, but I don't know what was the culture of
I feel
Dig?
like Dig was just normal people.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like the MySpace to Reddit's Facebook. Yeah, where it was maybe before it, but it never really achieved that critical mass. It was just kind of like a thing that nerds used.
Yeah, that tracks. Also, I sent the picture to the regular Discord.
Oh, hell yeah. Let me take a
look. Or to the group chat here.
That's also.
Oh, fuck yeah. That is so cool. Holy shit.
Isn't it good?
That's like a prequel to Red Dragon. It's like he travels back in time and sets that guy on fire when he's a baby. So good.
Yeah, this is me killing Hitler.
Yeah, just the pitch blackness around it. Oh man, that is a really. You are a good photographer, man.
I was very pleased with this one. It was it's one of those ones that just like stands out to me because it's like such a violent, emotionally violent.
Everything about it was just right.
I really hope you use that as your signature. It's perfect.
Yeah, I have some shirts with it on it, but I should definitely do some other stuff. It's like it's so cool that I don't know what else I could do with it.
Cover.
It's
that could be a card.
It was released.
In your game.
Yeah, it's the name of the piece when I published it is called birth control pill. So yeah. We'll include that somewhere in the when we post it.
Definitely, I'll include that in the notes here. Along with also this thread is in the Comedy Goldmine, so you don't need an account to read it. Also, I include a link to the document in every show, so you can go to the document and read the pictures there. But that includes a link to the thread. So either way, if you want to see these pictures after hearing us talk about them, you can look it up. You can see them in the notes.
Yeah, it's all there.
And I guess another setting the era that this is in. We have a poster here, Spitshine. Steve, would you like to read their post?
Man, why am I in Iraq right now when I could be serving humanity in my own backyard? Truly humbled, good sir. Truly.
Boy, that's some goon speak.
He's posting from Iraq.
Yeah, that this being the time when that was because they had goons and platoons. They have a section specifically for veterans and active service members, and that's partially why because you'd have people like people would be posting on the forums while they were stationed, and that was always just a weird thing to have come up. Like you'd have people talk about being in college, and a guy be like, "Yeah, I'm out here in Iraq. Love the thread," and this one here was very funny to me. We have a post here by Rope Kid, who I think we've mentioned before is Joshua Sawyer, who directed Fallout New Vegas. He's the guy who looks like Ned Flanders who fucks. Although now he shaved the mustache,
that's so funny.
He just looks cool now. But I found a post from him.
He's just still hot.
Now he's just hot again. Yeah, it's like when Weird Al shaves his mustache off. Yeah. But Rope Kid, when talking about the bees here, he says
they just wanted to be sweet, little crying emoticon.
And I thought that was very funny because Fallout New Vegas somewhat infamously has an enemy called the Cazador that is very difficult to kill and is kind of like a difficulty spike. And it's a giant bee. So the foreshadowing of that this guy is like, I like bees. And then years later, a bee turns out to be a super powerful enemy in that game. It's like Kevin Smith's Spider Story, except a nice version of it.
Yeah, what's funny is that the Cazadors are like, they're strong as shit. But it's not that they do immediate damage to you. It's that they poison you. And the game doesn't say like, you've been poisoned. It just makes a sound effect. And if you don't have the poison, like the antidote, you just slowly die. And like, I've had like big, elaborate, heavy, long, deep game runs, and I just reload a save, but I'll be at like level 30 and I'm dying at Cazadors because they poisoned me. And I'm like, I don't have anything on me to cure it. Great game.
Yeah, fantastic game.
That was always a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Recommend. Yeah. Here, I guess, and then after that sort of initial wave of awestruck admiration, the thread collapses into people slap fighting about animal rights and the word redneck. So that's about where I'll stop for that. But I will say that because this was a really popular thread, I found out that some people just straight up stole it and posted it onto other forums as their own content. And then they got called out on it because it made the front page of Dig and also something awful was really popular back then. So like, I found this forum called Gen May where some guy posted the whole thing in just word for word claiming to be it and just
Gen May, like something awful in Gen May have a history if I remember right. Like
that's the thing, like I don't really know much about it.
Something awful, and goons hated them.
That's pretty. I didn't know that. That's pretty funny. Yeah, just because looking at it, it made me think like you really appreciate something awful when you read other forums around the time like this, where it's just like all lowercase, like. fuck him in his poopy place, the person stealing content. Like,
they're even in the essayclopedia here, and it's all hateful stuff. They really don't like them. Yeah, a backwater internet forum, something like Essay's annoying kid brother.
Oh yeah, that tracks.
That could be like that could be a fun mini series, like finding a person from like Face Punch or Jen May or whatever who knows a lot about their lore to come on and talk about that, like as a primer on some of that. Because like I don't really know anything about the Something Awful spinoffs like those.
I think it was just competing. It was just some other website that did the same kind of things and had the same kind of people.
I have this unreasonably, overwhelmingly hateful response and reaction to the kind of fucking losers who take somebody else's content and post it as it was their own. Like, look, if somebody posts that weird picture of Elon Musk where like his chest is all fucked up, which is every picture of Elon Musk, I don't post, I got this from this user on Twitter. Of course not, because almost certainly they didn't get it. Like, that's one thing. But taking pictures of somebody else's life and acting like it was my own and, like, maintaining that when asked about it is insane to me. And every time you see somebody doing that, somebody goes like, no, you're lying. You very clearly stole this from someone else. They're like, don't take it so seriously. It's like, if it wasn't serious, why did you do it? Give the joke back, you fucking losers.
Yeah.
I like the way that doctors think about like everyone else in the world is like beneath them, and they like, I can never be judged by a jury of my peers because I am fucking peerless. I am a medical doctor. I feel that way about the fact that I'm funny and I live in a world where extremely less funny people will just steal jokes and say them louder and get way more fucking traction. Like I am unabashedly arrogant against the unfunny content thieves of the world,
Oh yeah, I was jokerfied by some like video game community manager person stealing a meme I made about Animal Crossing and getting like 30,000 likes off of it, and me being just like, I need to start watermarking stuff.
I had some asshole try to make NFTs of my music, so.
I had some people like try to get me to make NFTs of my stuff, including like a fucking friend of mine who was just like, yo, you have 100 cards in your tarot deck. Why don't you make like 100 NFTs for that? And I was like, I don't care. And I had to explain to them, and he didn't understand. I was like, I don't care if it makes money. I don't care if I sell each one for $1,000. Not only is it a bad look, but that's not why I made it. I don't give a fuck about the money, dog. Like I remember there was a point when I was in Albuquerque, and me and my brother were looking at some galleries, and he's like, why don't you put your art in some galleries? And I'm like, oh, fuck galleries. I have no interest in being in a gallery. If a gallery came to me groveling and saying like, please let us put your art in here, sure, whatever. Yeah, fine. But the people that go to art galleries, I was there because I was with my family. I have no interest in putting my art in front of the people that go to art galleries. I have no interest in any of this. And so I explained this to him, and he's like, yeah, but you could sell it for much more money. And I'm like, I don't want that. Like when I'm at an anime show in a couple weeks, Anime Midwest, and for my prints, I'm charging like a quarter what everyone else charges, because I want kids to be able to buy art and have it on their walls and feel cool. If a kid really wants my stuff, we'll just give it to him. Like NFTs, all that shit, gatekeeping art. It's like, fuck you, dude.
For real. Yeah.
There's some fucker out there in Silicon Valley who's like, what if we could like make it so you had to pay extra money to see the sunset? You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. Yeah, NFTs are for fucking dweebs.
Yeah, I guess while we're talking about NFTs, this is unreally bad. This was the thing Fred posted about the other day that was pretty wild to me. Was he was talking about how when he used to buy drugs online, the place that you got them from, the little token you got to log in was a little NFT guy, like one of those pixel dudes that was randomly generated. And so you'd have all these people like making $1,000 like drug transactions and talk about stuff with all these little pixel NFT guys next to it. And I was like, how do you make buying drugs on the internet this dorky? Like, this should be like cool. It should be like hacker stuff. And instead it looks like I'm like signing up for like a modding service or something.
Yeah, it's so fucking dull.
But to continue with the feel-good theme of this episode, because the saga does have some bee death in it, I thought I'd end on some uplifting bee counter-programming from exactly 1 year later on Christmas Day 2007. And this is another goldmine thread here.
Charity bee drive, darken the skies of the third world with angry bees.
By
oh yeah, I know where this is going.
Yeah, by the OP is Plainclothes Goth, which is a fantastic username.
That is great.
Yeah. And also, these formatting errors are intact. There's a bunch of HTML size stuff that doesn't work in BB code that they included in here, which is very funny. Yeah, so just
sting the poverty away with the gift of bees. This Christmas, something awful wants to give till it hurts. We want to give till it's covered with painful welts, in fact. We want to keep giving until its throat swells shut due to anaphylactic shock. You may have heard of Heifer International, the site that lets you send goats and cows and stuff to people.
Yeah, that's
I've done this. I bought some bees for people. I bought some chickens and goats for people, man. One Christmas, I bought my brother, somebody else, a bunch of bees. It was great.
Yes, that's exactly what this is.
Heifer International, the site that lets you send goats and cows and stuff to poor people in third world countries. I was looking at their site the other day, and Zach Parsons and I agreed,
Zach Parsons was a front page writer,
that it would be a worthy cause for charitable goons to contribute to, because mailing strangers animals is funny and helpful. We were pondering various virtuous but semi-evil charity drives we could set up, like sending hundreds of goats to the same person to prop him up as some kind of third world goat warlord. But it turns out it's not possible to send a goat to a specific person. Eventually, we came up with a great alternative, a bee drive.
Yeah, they had your idea for a whole community.
This rocks.
Why give bees? The beauty of donating bees is that it works whether you're good or evil. There are two ways to look at it. A, you are paying $30 to help a family increase their crop yields and earn extra income through the magic of pollination. B, you are paying $30 to prank the fuck out of some poor people by foisting a swarm of angry bees on them. Bee giving is good for the world, but you could feel like an asshole while doing it. In fact, you could feel like a supervillain. Each $30 bee contribution buys 12,500 bees. I actually called and checked, which means that the combined weight of our charity could potentially flood the developing world with millions of bees. On the holiest of nights, we shall darken the skies of the world's poorest nations with deadly swarms of nature's perfect killing machine.
So that was their pitch for the bee drive there.
I'm not mad about it.
It's good. I really like this because this is a good example of this was a thing that they used to do a lot, was these sort of community charity drives. Now it's had this very fun kind of attitude to them where it's like you're doing charity, but in a way that is like you could think of as being like trollish or subversive. They were very creative with it in fun ways.
I sell a little leather-bound notebook on my website that's a little like dot journal, and it's a black book, and it has a gold foil stamp on the front that just says enemies, like you're writing down, your list of enemies.
He's selling the Death Note.
Yeah. The number of times in my life I've accidentally made something that is a reference to an anime that I have never seen. I've had people like get heated when they're just like, this is a reference to Berserk. I'm like, I have never read any of, like, I have now, but at the time I hadn't. Anyways, at the very end of the journal, there's a printed page which just says, do good things in the spirit of revenge. And it's something that I live by is like, you can do so much good if you think about it in the way of like, I am using all of the parts of my brain that plot for evil to actually do good, to fuck over the evil that exists in the world, And this is exactly that. You're buying a shitload of bees for people who need bees, man.
Yeah, harnessing the power of spite for good is very powerful, especially if you're like...
It's true, baby.
So do you guys want to guess how many bees they sent over?
I'm going to say 200,000.
All right, Steve, what do you guess?
Oh, man. It's a goon project, so I'm going to say maybe...
0.
Maybe 1 or 2 orders.
All right, so after a month, Goon sent a total of 3,787,500 bees.
Oh my God.
A little over $9,000 worth.
I mean, okay. Well, do go on. I want to know where this goes.
No, just this one is just a little capper at the end. It's just that they raised a bunch of money to make up for the bee death. They bought millions of bees. So I feel in the calculus of this, things should balance out okay there. But I do have some closing thoughts here about this sort of saga. If you had any other bits you wanted to do before that.
I mean, I want to know where. So where did you say they went?
They went to Heifer International was the one they used for that. And the way that they would do these on the forums is people would post like their receipt that they had donated to with their personal information blocked out to show that they donated. Or like they might have, if you could like call it a group, you would put like something awful or the goons or whatever in your thing, and there'd be like a group they could track it in. But that was a thing that they would do to track those. I'm going to talk some more about. I have some notes here I think about later ones as well.
I remember this coming up in other forums. It wasn't just something awful either. Like the sending bees to people thing was pretty universal on the internet for a while.
Yeah, and there was an evil version of it where it was sending animal poop to people, which is pretty funny because apparently the company that does that, if you get on their mailing list, they'd never stop sending you junk mail about it. So it's like,
yeah, it's like you've made a deal with the devil, you know.
Yeah, and also speaking of mail, there's a thing about bees. Is like bees are one of the only live animals you're allowed to mail like through the U.S. Postal Service. Baby chicks are one of the other ones. Actually, you can just send like little baby birds through the mail.
Yeah, you can. You can order ducks and stuff.
There was this wild thing back in the 60s where you could order squirrel monkeys out of the back of comic books, and they would just put a monkey in a box and tie it down and mail it to people. And so people would get like a terrified, dehydrated monkey in a box and open it like an Invader Zim bit or something. It was horrifying.
One of my dad's friends actually got one. They got one
no
and had
way.
it as a pet, and he wore a diaper in their house. This was long before I was born, and I would hear this tale, filtered through 2 or 3 people. But yes, this really happened.
Okay, what I want to know is like, what was the aftermath? Like, who got the bees, and did they do what they do with them?
Yeah, so I think with Heifer International, like they were saying, is that you can't choose a specific person. So I think it was just that it was like a general like buying bees for like there wasn't anything specific about who it went to. It was just like a general charity fundraiser thing. But the way they presented it was very, very fun and colorful.
Thank God for bees, man.
Yep.
Not mad about that.
Yeah, I've come to terms with them.
Yeah,
we can exist together.
Hey, I say can't live with them, can't live without them. I don't know if that
wow, did you make that up?
Look, man.
You make a bumper sticker out of
that. Yeah, no, that's entirely from me. I made that up on the fly. No, I just drove in from Louisville today, so my brain's a little cooked. But I think this is a great episode. We talked a lot about bees.
These are the kind of sagas that don't really happen anymore on Something Awful, and it would be easy for me to do my usual thing about Helldump and GBS 2.0 causing this, but I really think that in this case, the Hiroshima was, it was just 2006 was right when YouTube was taking off. So this kind of crazy stunt is something that's video now. Like this is what a lot of TikTok is people doing crazy stunts or in their backyards like this. Like,
this would make an amazing TikTok.
Like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like what this made me think of.
Pav.
Killing the bees in my front lawn.
Hiroshima.
Yeah, God.
78 octane gasoline. Yeah. But it made me think of how Let's Plays started out as screenshots and text, and then as streaming video became more common, they just became people talking over video. Like, taking pictures of yourself doing a wild stunt and describing it was like a skill, and it has its charms and use cases. But if you were going to do this on the internet now, you'd do a video of it. Like, if you did a video of this, you'd record it and put it on YouTube or whatever. And then if you posted on Something Awful, they would make fun of you for self-promoting and being an attention whore. So it's like, even if, like, like someone did, and also the people wouldn't want people seeing their backyards on something awful. Like that's the thing people talk about a lot is like not wanting their personal information on there. It's like there wouldn't be faces or stuff like it. Just people wouldn't want to post this even if they did do something wacky like this. It would just be like maybe something someone would mention offhandedly, and then it would just be like a part of their lore.
I hate that part of Something Awful. And it was a thing that was not, it was definitely part of Something Awful, not as much a part of the Manson forum, where it was just like, it's just true crabs in a bucket mentality, you know, of just like, if anybody is doing anything remotely cool, they're like, oh, look at this attention whore, you know, and they just tear them down. So it's like, we all have to live in the slop and in the murk at the level together. So we're all living in this like nasty, snarky pit. When it's like, oh man, dude, if my buddy started doing cool shit, I'd want to know about it.
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
And it's funny because like these are the stories that people always talk about. Like is this or like, you know, and like the jokes that like that type of attitude we're talking about were funny at the time, everything, but like people don't really remember that. They remember the personal parts of this, and that type of attitude just makes people not post stuff like this. Now it's just like, you know, if you want to see someone being sarcastic and mean to people, you can kind of see that anywhere on the internet. Like you don't have to sign up for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all fucking, yeah. I look, man, I don't want to, I don't know. I've been watching the Second Wind podcast on YouTube. It's the Ben Yahtzee Crenshaw.
Something Awful Zone.
From Something Awful, who ended up to go work for The Escapist, and he did the zero punctuation reviews of games. And like as a young man, I was like, this is funny. He's like a snarky, you know, he's giving these mean reviews of games and stuff. And this game must suck because Yahtzee hates it so much and makes fun of it and calls it like a pissing cunt of shit. It's like, okay, cool. And then you watch them now, and it's just like these two other guys who like are still really excited about games and having fun and like the industry and all that. And this one old codger who's like yawning into the microphone and talking about how it's all shit. Everything is shit. Nothing is fun. It's all shit. It's like, oh, cool, dude. Yeah. You enjoy that. You try to have fun in your little fucking pit of darkness, man.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess just one last fun kind of stinger to end this on is that, as for the reason why charity drives aren't as popular on Something Awful anymore, that's going to be an episode one day, and I show up in it. So that's something you get to look forward to in the future. I am the butter.
Did you ruin charity?
I'm the butterfly who flapped its wings that caused a big charity related drama thing on Something Awful indirectly. So that'll be fun to follow that chain of events. I was the tiny domino.
Well, we killed some bees. We saved some bees. Thank you so much for listening. Steve, where can we find everything that you do?
I am at killhamster, just anywhere, I guess.
And Jay, what have you got going on?
Oh, yeah, I'm jaybrandstetter pretty much everywhere. I've got my Discord, Zed Stedman, the link's in my link tree. I've been getting into writing fiction lately, so that's fun. Maybe in a couple months I'll put out an audiobook or something. So this is like the sneak preview of that, I guess. It's neat.
Oh, cool. That's good to hear, man.
I'm about 45,000 words into it. I started at the beginning of the month, and it's like it's going to be like a triptych of novellas. I finished the first two, and the third one I just started. So it's interesting. I've never really completed a work of fiction before, and now I'm knocking out 3 of them. So hell yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I've got some stuff that I've penned, and, you know, I mean, kind of, I don't know, famously the massive, like 250-page draft of my novel was eaten by Google Drive, and then I just took the skeleton of that and made that into my card game. So I'll be working on that soon. But I have some other stuff that hopefully I want to put out like a little chapbook of stories at some point in time, because I have some fiction that I'm working on too.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm Calculations on Instagram. I'm Winslow Dumaine everywhere else. I have the card game that's coming out soon. A ton of weird stuff on the website. I got some new pins and some new stickers coming out. By the time you hear this, I'll have some other new stuff up there too. And you can see me on the road. I'll be in Detroit and Grand Rapids. I'll be at Anime Midwest. Detroit and Grand Rapids are for Oddities and Curiosities. And Anime Midwest and all the oddities and curiosities, and both of those are in Chicago. So, come on out and say hi. A few people have already come out and said hello, and said that they like the pod, and that means the world to us. So, please give us a review, give us a like, give us a follow, share it with your friends, and also we have a Patreon where we go into deep, gooey territory, and I believe this week we're going to be talking about the guy that started the Hamster Dance website and how it ruined his fucking life, which is, I can't wait. So, give us a follow there. I'm From the Internet is created by Jaybrandstetter and Winslow Domain. Edited by Steve Brown. Music by Steve Is Broke.